Hey cool people, Crystal here. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up about this week's episode. I was on a remote trip in Washington, D.C., and sometimes with remote trips and remote recordings comes remote technical glitches. As you may hear, this week's episode isn't quite as crisp as they normally are, but I hope you enjoy the meat of the interview and this very special guest. Thank you for your patience and thank you for being one of the coolest listeners in the world.
You've just landed on the Coolest People in the World podcast, a show that features stories of cool people doing really cool things. From business, art, and travel to lifestyle, mental health and family, and everything in between. Join host Crystal J. Bailey as she introduces you to some of the coolest people in the world. Here's Crystal.
Welcome back to the Coolest People in the World podcast. I am here with episode 6, and it is a juicy one. It's a big one. We are going to get into some thick conversation. Big, important things happened yesterday. We are recording this episode from the Yotel in Washington, D.C. because my friend Jen changed history yesterday. Jennifer is a Navy vet. She is a mom of 4. She is 1,000,001 beautiful things that I am thankful for. And yesterday she took all those beautiful, wonderful things and she put it on a national stage. And she made history as far as I'm concerned. And I have said more than once, and I was in the room, I keep saying, cue the music in the room where it happened. My Jen, she made history yesterday. She did something very special. And so we're going to be talking about that on this episode today. Jenny from the block, Jenny Rose, welcome to the Coolest People in the World podcast.
Well, thank you for the Coolest People in the World podcast for having me. I am pretty cool. And we did some cool things yesterday, and I'm really excited to talk about it because there are things that not everybody is ready or wants to talk about. And I think that over the last couple of years, you and I have talked about doing raw and real conversations, and here we are. So I am extremely grateful and blessed to be here. So thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. And Jen has been, for a little behind the scenes, a huge part of my behind the scenes. She is more than all these things to me. She is my friend. She is my sister. She is a healer. I don't want to cry. I'll let you do the crying on this episode if you need to. But she is a teacher. She's everything. She's many, many things to me. And yesterday after I heard you be so many things to so many women that you don't even know, I joked. I said, ooh, I wanted to shout out. We were in the Capitol building in front of senators, in front of the powers that be as far as Veterans Affairs goes. It took everything out of me not to shout out in that room, ooh, that's my friend, because I was just so proud. So let's get into it. Jen, tell our audience a little bit about who you are.
Well, like you said, I am a lot of things. First and foremost, I am a mother of 4, and I'm also a disabled veteran, and I am an advocate for veterans. Yesterday I was an advocate for gender-specific care for women veterans and their mental health, but on the average day, I advocate for everyone. Through my journey, it's led me currently to sound healing, and that's like my jam. I help people. We have an amazing tribe and group that meets every Thursday in Williamstown because a Marine gave me an opportunity. I am myself, and my authenticity helps other people, and it's helping other people use their voice. And no, my story is not always pretty. It's not always comfortable, but I found that through sharing my story, I am helping other people. And as tough and as uncomfortable as that can be at times, I have to share my tools with the world because I don't want any other women, my daughter especially, but I don't want anybody to have to go through the 20-year struggle that I've went through. Absolutely. So if that means sharing my story for the world to see and showing people that you can have personal accountability, you can accept the apology you're never going to have, and you can move forward after big trauma, big things in your life, I will gladly do it.
I love that. And you do that. You do that every day for me and for our tribe. I'm part of this tribe. So for a little bit of context, I didn't introduce myself, but you guys know who I am at this point, Crystal J. Bailey. Behind the scenes to my career growth and evolution, there's been a huge healing journey, a spiritual awakening, if you will. And Jen has been a huge part of that. She's been a huge part of helping me to understand things that I couldn't understand and helping me to see versions and love versions of myself that I didn't know how to love. So, see, she makes me emotional. I can't look her in the eyes. I got to look at the camera.
We usually don't look each other in the eyes when we share our emotional things, but I will tell you this. I couldn't think of a safer, more sacred space. And like I said, I'm honored to be here because you are just a big part of my journey as well. And you've allowed me to be myself and you've accepted me for who I am. And I'm not always easy, you know. I do kind of have this image of strength and empowerment and warriorism. And I have moments of weakness too. And those are some of my trying times, and those are the moments that you share with me. So I appreciate and love you just as much.
We are so in this together. And so that leads us to why we're in DC, because Jen was offered an opportunity through her advocacy, and we're gonna look into this. Yes, to travel to DC to sit on a panel entitled Women Veterans, The Journey to Mental Wellness by the D.A.V, Disabled American Veterans. So before we get into this, I do want to put a little disclaimer out. This is a story of hope. It is a story of the power of a woman using her voice, and that is my favorite thing to share. And that's so much of this podcast is the people that are really making the moves and doing the things, and just kind of, you know, maybe they're right under the radar, but they're the most important people in the room. They're the coolest people in the world. And it also comes with a trigger warning, PTSD. We're going to have conversations about PTSD, about military sexual trauma, suicide, and conversations around suicide may come up in conversations, as well as domestic violence. I want to get right into this, and we are going to talk more about Jen and her story and who she is aside from a veteran. But let's talk about that first.
So I joined the military in 2001 because I was a teen mom. A very big theme in my life is I do not like being a statistic, and I will never be just a statistic. So I didn't want to be that teen mom that struggled and had her parents helping to raise her kids. My husband at the time and father of my kids, he couldn't get into the service because he couldn't pass the ASVAB test. And the recruiter was like, well, how about you? And I was like, well, okay, because I had no idea.
What's the ASVAB test for the
military? The ASVAB
illiterate
test is the test you have to take to see if you can qualify to even attempt to get into the military.
Okay.
And yes, they have that. You don't have to score very high for certain jobs, but we won't get into all that.
We'll skip that story.
Yes. So I joined the Navy, and it was the best decision that I ever made in my life, but it was also one of the hardest decisions. I had to leave my child, who was not even 1 year old, and it set the tone for, you know, kind of the rest of my life. And I loved it. I was really good at my job. I loved my job. I loved the opportunities that I had. However, I would leave in the morning and put that uniform on, and when I went home at the end of the day, I went home to physical, mental, and emotional abuse. Mm-hmm. My job became an escape for me because I didn't want to be at home. Like, I loved my child and whatnot, but at the end of the day, my child was safe, and my escape was my job. So I wanted to be the best sailor that I could be. So I tried to excel at everything that I did. My leadership knew that I was being abused at home. I was that typical Lifetime movie, you know, oh, I ran into the door, or I tripped, and, you know, I made every excuse in the book, but they knew anyway. And they didn't do much about it until there was one really big situation that landed my spouse at the time in jail. Base police was involved, and I had to go get medical photography done at the same hospital that I worked at. These people that I worked with on a daily basis, because I was working at the inpatient, outpatient ward at that time. I was very known at the hospital. These people were taking measuring tapes and photography of the marks and bruises and such on my body, and it was extremely impersonal, and it was very hard for me to do. And then I was told to see a counselor one time, and then that was it. Life went on for a couple months, and because I didn't get the help that I needed, when their dad got out of jail, I let him back home, and then the abuse continued, and I ended up getting out, and I got out without help with transition from military to civilian life, and I got out as a newly single mother of two, and it was extremely hard because I was lost in so many areas and so many aspects of my life that I started acting out, and I started being my not self and finding vices and finding avenues that took those voids and that pain away. I was blessed in a lot of ways, but cursed in a lot of ways, and I was still a kid. You know, I was still a kid raising kids and trying to find my way in the world. But I loved my military time, and I loved my service because I gained so much from it, and I met some amazing people, and I did some amazing things. So,
as you said, you're a great sailor, and I've heard her say I was a damn good sailor.
Yes, I was.
Can you talk about the good in this? Can we talk about the career growth, what you did experience as a sales?
I was a hospital corpsman 3rd class, and I worked because I was in the same duty station for all of my enlistment. So for 5 years, I was in the same spot, which a lot of people are like, it does suck on a certain level, but on the same level, I got to bond with higher ranking leadership and people that stay in one duty station for a longer period of time. And I was able to do all these classes and go to school. I had a lot more freedom in the sense of where I wanted to grow, even though I was a minority in the sense of they had no idea what to do with me. When I finally did ask for help, I was met with sexual harassment and all kinds of things, which is a common theme in the military. This is why we are in DC right now. I excelled where I could, and I flourished where I could, and I took the very best of it. Yeah. And from it, I got to meet amazing patients because, like I said, I worked on inpatient, outpatient, same-day surgery ward. I worked medical records. I got to go over to the flight schools and meet all the incoming recruits. And I also got the opportunity to work on recruit training command. So every single female that came into the Navy that had to get their pap smears and other essential gender-specific care when joining the military, I ran the dysplasia clinic, so I helped treat people that were coming in from the military that came from off the streets, that came from not so nice backgrounds and whatnot. They had to come see us first. So I did a lot of amazing things, and I got to touch a lot of lives, and I did have good leadership. So there is good with everything in life. The military is no different. It comes with good and it comes with bad, and we have good leaders and we have poor leaders. But at the end of the day, I took the very best that I could away from it. And yes, we're focusing on change that needs to happen, but this is an after effect. One of the things that we're here to recognize is that there is a difference between active duty military and veterans care. And I think that's where a lot of the miscommunication comes in, because veterans don't trust the system. We have been let down. The very people that are fighting for this country and its freedoms are being left to be homeless, to have the struggles or worries of not being able to put food on the table or pay your bills, and it's unacceptable. And we have to be the change. We have to do that.
Right.
So.
And I will say to that point, one of the things, and Jen's boyfriend Kevin is with us, who is also a Marine vet, and
I'll let him say it.
Go ahead, Kev.
Retired Marine, combat vet, Purple Heart recipient.
Purple Heart recipient in the room, taking background.
Semper Fi, Marine.
Taking background video, who's been also a huge part of my healing journey. I cheese the way I cheese at Kevin because he's a brother of mine. He's somebody that's very important and special. And I'm going to try not to get emotional every 5 minutes. Jeez Louise. One of the things that I was saying as somebody who doesn't come from a military background, a military family, a lot of civilians who don't have that background knowledge, who barely paid attention in history class, I've generalized the military in many ways, good or bad. And spending time with both you and Kevin in DC and having these conversations, and we've had them one-on-one, but sharing with the audience, like, put things into a different perspective. Sitting here with you, hearing your story in a different way. I know pretty much your story, maybe not all the nitty-gritty, but a lot of it. But hearing you sit on that panel and sitting next to other women who shared pieces of their story and speaking to Kevin, we rode scooters around DC and we had so much fun, little kids, but it also came with this certain, we laughed and we played. It came with a certain level of this solitude, that I was like, wow, I'm really with my friends who are veterans, who have this, they carry this PTSD and this stuff with them every day because they fought for our country. And it just put a different, unique perspective on it for me. And I think what I learned was that there's so much that goes left untold. And there's so much of the story that's I see you as this strong, this Navy vet, this, and Kevin, this combat veteran, you are the strongest, but the stuff that I've heard you share with me and heard these other women share is no, you're forced to be strong in a different type of way that as civilians, I think we often take for granted, because I never thought about until I was speaking to Kevin how they prepare you to go kill. They prepare your brain to go kill, and they never, they is a broad statement, but the support after you're out seems to lack. And the mental health care that's needed to come back from a mindset when you are love, you too are love, is a shift that people don't pause, I think, to think about. People who haven't experienced it or haven't experienced it up close don't pause to think about. And so that's what you are doing with the D.A.V. is not I want you to talk about the D.A.V. I want you to talk about them, but
Breathe.
I know I'm rambling.
You're not rambling, but something that I want to touch on that you said is the reason that people like him and I know the type of love that we know is because we've known a pain that not everybody knows.
Right.
And you're right, we are forced. We're forced to survive. But I got to a point in my life where I don't want to just survive anymore.
Yeah.
So in order for me to get out of survival mode and truly start living, I have to speak. I have to use my voice because people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
The generational trauma in the leadership of the military and in a lot of systems in the world is where the problem lies. And it's people like myself and Kevin and like you talking about this with, people that are watching that is creating the opportunities for myself. And there's a lot of other women in this magazine. It is not just me. It's not just my story because there's issues with military sexual trauma. There is intimate partner violence. There is substance abuse disorders. There is suicide, and there is lack of care with, the average mean for your female veteran these days is age 65. They need menopause care, mammograms. We need gender-specific care, and that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on is I know that might bother some people that, why are we being so gender-specific? Because not only am I a proud sailor, but I'm a proud woman.
Right.
My body is not that of a man's. I menstruate and I have breasts and I need specific care.
Right.
One of the things that we're fighting for and one of the big solutions that we're looking for is to have different assessments for women that are gender specific because yes, we're in the same boat as our male counterparts, but our bodies, our thoughts, our vessels,
right.
we are different. And because the VA healthcare system, it's designed for men.
Right.
There are 650,000 female veterans to 7,000 men.
Wow.
Veterans.
Wow.
And we learned that yesterday,
Yeah.
which is like, I don't even know if people can fathom
Right.
that. But it's big. So gender-specific care is extremely important. And one instance that I want to use this in and why it's so important is because, yes, military sexual trauma not only happens to women, but it does happen to men. But we process that military sexual trauma, and it might be civilian sexual trauma. But we do process differently. It is much different for a man to experience sexual trauma than it is for a woman to experience such sexual trauma. So it is important, the gender-specific care, especially in a system that we're involved in as veterans.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you paused me. Well, where I was going with all of that, though, was the D.A.V., and I didn't realize the importance of the D.A.V. As someone who's never needed such an organization, we assume, as civilians, they go to war, they get the health care they need. Maybe this is a broad statement, but from my limited experience and knowledge, they have the VA. I've heard some things along the way that it's hard to get healthcare, this, that, and the other thing, or, different stories, but the D.A.V. serves to bridge that gap.
Yes.
And so I want to take a step back, and can you please tell us a little bit more about the D.A.V.?
Yes. I might be a little biased because I do love the D.A.V. They are actually a VSO, which is a veteran service organization, because there are many. However, there is none like the D.A.V. They have access to help veterans in a way that most VSOs can't. There are a couple people that I actually, before I start talking about the D.A.V., want to give shout outs to, because if it wasn't for these people in the D.A.V., I wouldn't be here. The first person is Joe Kaufman. He is my D.A.V. representative from Philadelphia. I was speaking about him last night, and he called me this morning, which kind of just really touched my heart, because he says, "I'll never forget the day that you came in my office and slammed that box on my desk." Because I was determined, again, not to be just another statistic. So Joe helped me through my claims process, and he introduced me to Elizabeth D. Pompey, who in the end linked me up with the National Legislative Director for the D.A.V., who is Joy Elam, and the Assistant National Legislative Director, Naomi Mathis, and the D.A.V. National Commander, Nancy Espinoza. And these three women are all veterans who have experienced their own trauma. And they've paved the way for women like me. So if these women were never seen, if they never talked about their issues and their problems and earned their positions within the D.A.V, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk the way that I can with you. And I got to meet them face to face for the first time yesterday, so I was able to put that connection together, and I just was amazed by all of the wonderful women in the room that have gone through similar stories like my own. And they're the ones that got us into Washington and all these places. So I have to thank them because they're healing generational military trauma, and I don't even think they fully realize what they're doing. And I owe all of them a lot.
That's beautiful. You sat up there and talked about generational trauma in the Capitol building.
I did, and I spoke about military leadership generational trauma, and I also spoke about the generational trauma that veterans pass down to their children, because it's not something that's talked about, but it is something that's important because kids are our future. You know what I mean? This is who's going to be in office. This is who's going to be doing podcasts and sound healing and all these amazing things. And if we don't help them when we have the opportunity, we're just getting back on this cycle of toxicity and nobody's winning. We're all just, fighting.
Chasing our tails. I think you said that, right?
Yeah, chasing our tails. And it was not something that was easy to bring up, because to have to admit that there is a failure in leadership and there's failure within myself when it comes to being a mother and being a woman and being a veteran, having that self-accountability is not always easy to have, and it's not something that any and everybody is going to be ready to have.
Right, absolutely. But you are somebody who not just works on your own healing, but gives it back out. And we see that every day. We show up week after week for sound baths. I am not religious, because that would be weekly, but I am a pretty consistent sound bath attendant. And it's been a huge part of my healing journey. It's something you give back to all of us in so many different ways. And you encourage me every day to use my voice. Half of this past year has been like Jen's on my shoulder at any given moment saying, are you speaking up for yourself? Are you using your voice correctly? Are you taking less than you deserve? She's always my little guardian angel. So you deserve every bit of this, and I want to move towards the future, this report. Let's talk about that, because there's more to talk about, because you're more than this too. You're so many things. So let's talk about this.
Well, one of the things that led me to the proper mental preparedness for this report is my sound healing business. A few years ago, I had an accident where I ended up with a really bad knee infection, and it almost took me from my kids, and it shook my world. It shook my world really, really bad. And that's when I met you during the Lions.
Lion portal.
Yeah,
portal.
And that was what kind of really amped up my healing. And around that same time, a friend of mine at the time had let me use their sound bowl. I put it in my hand and I was like, whoa. I was like, this is my jam. And over the last couple years, I have utilized any and every avenue that I could to play my bowls. But another military connection, Bruce Stewart from Redemption Farm, he is a Marine as well. He believed in me when no one else did. I'm not going to say that nobody believed in me, but he saw something in me, and he knew, and he gave me this opportunity he opened up his home and his farm for me to come and bring other people, not just veterans, because, our tribe is not all veterans. Right. We have people from all backgrounds and the like, and he gave me an opportunity. And since then, every week for the last couple years, we meet on Thursdays, and we are a tribe. We are a healing tribe. It is a safe and sacred space where people are welcome, encouraged, and pushed to just be themselves. We have an awesome masculine presence in our tribe. We have over 5 healing masculines in our tribe.
Yes,
and it is one of the most beautiful things to see these macho men kind of show their vulnerabilities and say, hey, listen, this is what I've been through and this is what I struggle with. And yes, it encourages the women as well, but it's this beautiful balance of yin and yang. And we are a team out there, man. Yeah. The thing that I love the most is, people are wanting roles, and they're fitting into these roles now because they're seeing and feeling all these beautiful effects of the healing process and what sound healing does. Frequencies are medicine. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And that's what kind of led me to a healthier mindset to be able to focus on things like, women veterans. And
Absolutely. So I want to go back to sound healing, but I would love to talk more about the report because you said Jen is not the only person in this magazine. There are, I don't know how many phenomenal women. I've had, my book is signed. I had a chance to meet several of these women in the room yesterday, and every story is so powerful. And Kim Huber, she was one of my favorites. She has a shaved side of her head. So we were like, ooh, I see your hair.
Yes. And Ginger.
Ginger.
She was awesome, man. And her story, it really touched my heart because she was a servicewoman, in late 70s, early 80s, and to know that these issues were going on even then, it breaks my heart. But to see her representing the D.A.V. and representing women of a specific generation and whatnot, it's beautiful, and I'm blown away by her and all the other women that are using their voices, because this is exactly what needs to be happening. These women are being the change that we want to see in the world.
Yes, and she saw that in you. I had a special moment sitting next to Ginger, and she told me she was enlisted when men and women first integrated. Is that the right word? Integrated?
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine the experience that she had at that time, and she kind of paid the same homage to you, saying, I'm thankful to see younger women using their voices and speaking up. So it was a very powerful room of women. And what I have joked, because she's my friend, so I feel I'm allowed to say she was the most important woman in the room, because she was to me, because I was just in awe of her, knowing that it was a room full of women who had similar, different experiences, not all Navy, all different. I believe Ginger was Army, if I'm not mistaken, and every woman I met had a different story of a different generation, but all connected and all felt like, wow, she can use her voice, I can use my voice. And you do that for me on a micro level, and yesterday was just on such a bigger macro level. Like, you just gave to me what I saw, I'm sure Kevin would agree, is you gave every woman veteran permission to say, hey, this is my story. If nothing else, that alone can be healing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's really hard for me to sometimes see what other people see in me, because I'm just out here being myself, man. I am more human than people realize. I have the same struggles that everybody else has. I really do. I have a child with type 1 diabetes, you know what I mean? And that's a fight in itself. And I'm human. I'm just out here, but I'm so determined to just be myself. And I don't care whether people accept or understand who I am. Yeah. That's not other people's role in my life. As long as I can rest my head at night and I know that I am coming from a place of love and a place of trust, I can sleep good, and I'm okay with that. And one of the things I do want to touch on before I forget, because we'll get ready.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk in seven circles.
And I am going to kind of look at the camera when I say this, because if there are any female veterans out there listening, you're not alone. I know that you are having issues. I know that you're struggling to ask for help, and I know that the thought of another VSO or the thought of another organization or the thought of asking for help one more time probably makes your stomach curl. But I'm going to tell you that the D.A.V. has been the only organization that has allowed me to have a voice and has also heard and seen me in the process. And there are women all over this country waiting for you to walk through that door, waiting for you to ask for help. People don't know what they don't know. So please get up and give yourself the opportunity to heal. Give yourself the opportunity to be whole again, and reach out to myself, Crystal, your local D.A.V. But please, if you need help, ask. It's there. One of the big things and one of the main points of yesterday was that veterans, and not just female veterans, but veterans, once you lose their trust, it is extremely hard to get it back. And there are a lot of veterans that associate the VA healthcare system with active duty and DOD. They are separate. They're not the same. We cannot hold one accountable for the other. Right. We can only do what we can do. And if more veterans, especially female veterans, were open to trusting again, to being vulnerable again, I know. But if they were open to that, there's so many benefits and there is so much help out there. Yeah. And the benefits are going to waste because our numbers are so low and not enough women are using their voice and coming forward saying, I need this care, I need this, and I need that. So if we can encourage through this podcast, even one, then our job is done in my eyes. So like Crystal said, those surveys are so very important. These women, doctors that are just absolutely amazing. And listen, they're the ones that have to listen to the stories. They're the ones that have to, take all of this information. They've been doing this research for 30, a very long time. Right. They have been getting these numbers because they want the gender-specific care. They can't get those numbers if you don't fill out the surveys. So answer the phone call, open the mail. You cannot complain about a system you are unwilling to fix.
That's powerful. So let's talk about the gender-specific care in the report and the goals of this. So you presented problems and you presented solutions. Give us your kind of synopsis of that.
So I would like to talk about solutions because I think that's a positive thing. I think a lot of people can naturally assume what some of the issues are at Veterans Affairs, and it is getting consistency and continuity of care. There is sexual harassment and things that are going on in some locations. We know what the problems are, but not enough people know what some of the solutions could and can be. One of the main solutions that we're looking for is to change the screening process for MST, which is military sexual trauma. The Veterans Affairs MST assessment is around men. And as I said before, men and women are different. So they're looking to change that assessment process and make it more geared towards women, whether it have keywords or key situations that are things that are going to bring awareness to what could possibly lead to suicide. We want to stop suicide. We're also looking to add a 3-digit number for domestic violence. The number for domestic violence is 1-800-799-7233, but we would like to make it a little bit easier, similar to the 988 number. If you need anything, if you're a veteran, non-veteran, and you need help, you have domestic violence, please give them a call. We're also looking to bridge the gap within rural communities. I am one of those people, and so is Kevin. We live in South Jersey, so as Crystal would say, we a little country. We're a little country, and we kind of have to travel to either a satellite clinic or we have to travel to the big city to get our care. And that leads to issues. When you have a veteran that is out in the middle of nowhere and they are feeling suicidal or they're struggling, they got to drive 45 minutes to a facility, and that's unacceptable. So we're looking to create solutions and change to help reach veterans, women veterans, at a less crucial and critical time. We don't want them to get up here. We want to try and help down here. So that's some of the overall goals that we're looking
Which
to
would you agree comes from that trust building?
It does. It a lot of it leads back to trust because the system is failed in some avenues and in some ways. We do have phenomenal benefits when we can get them, but we can't always get them. And because we have such low numbers in some areas with female veterans, we're losing services. I'm a part of the Philadelphia regional area, and the number for female veterans is like nil. I can't even go to the Philadelphia VA hospital and get a mammogram anymore. I got to go to outsourced care, and then that's another issue. So, we have to work better with the VA and partnerships with VSOs like the D.A.V. are doing phenomenal jobs because look at what they're doing. They're thinking out of the box. They're not robotic, trying to get things done. They're willing to do the things that do go against the grain in order to bring positive change. And it's those women that I told you about earlier that are doing those things. And they invited me to be a part of it. And it's been such an amazing healing journey for me that I am going to go home a little bit lighter, and I am going to go home to new perspective, and I'm going to be a better woman and a better mother and a better girlfriend and a better friend. And I'm just extremely grateful for this opportunity.
Well, you're already pretty damn good in our eyes, so
I appreciate
better can only be
I am learning
exciting.
To see myself better.
Good.
I am learning.
Because you teach all of us.
I do. I got to practice what I preach.
She does. Okay, so Anything else you want to say about the report? Because I want to talk about the rest of who Jen is.
No, I think the report speaks for itself, and I'm sure, you're amazing at what you do, so I'm sure you're going to attach all
the
kinds
links and everything will be in the show description. You will have access to everything.
Yeah. And people, I am going to ask that they stay tuned, because one of our awesome D.A.V representatives, Juliet, is doing a roundtable today, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah, for you too.
It is, I know, and I'm like, come down, sister, bring it on. But this is just the beginning. You are going to hear more about this report. You are going to hear more about the amazing women in it, the amazing veteran women that led to it, and where it's going, because we're loading up the train, and the train is leaving the station.
Absolutely.
So.
And I look forward. I met so many amazing women yesterday that I said, I would love to have you as a guest. So if anybody's interested in listening,
and can I just
continue? Yes.
I got to interrupt you because I'm going to turn around and cheese at Mr. Kevin. It was very intimidating coming down here, and I got to let the viewers know, listen, it's so much bigger when you're here, and you can see all these things. And when we were walking up in our fancy heels, getting out that shuttle, walking up to the Capitol building, it was like, oh my God, whoa.
Making history.
We're really doing this. And then when the rooms started to fill, and all these people, and there's senators, and we're in the Senate, and this one crazy fool, she's busting out, recording in the Capitol, which you're not allowed to do. It was funny because you had kind of went and did your thing, and Kevin and I, we were like, where's Crystal? And we went and we poked our head into the conference room, and we both kind of looked at each other with the biggest cheeses, and because we saw your head, but you're
big old bald head.
She's doing her thing, and it was a beautiful thing to see, because as much as you want to do it on me right now, you're pretty freaking awesome, and you have an amazing bright light, and you give voice to people that wouldn't have a voice otherwise either. So as much as you think that I'm doing, maybe we're mirroring each other, and you're giving people the same exact voice that I'm trying to give. It's just in a different way. Modality.
Well,
it's
thank
the
you.
Same thing. So I appreciate what you're doing, and giving me the opportunity to talk about this stuff, because I like talking about the things nobody else wants to talk about.
And one of the things we've been talking about all weekend is people are just people, whether you are a veteran or a civilian or whatever your story is, they're just people. And when I was invited here, which Jen being Jen was like, can Crystal have a media pass? Because that's where I want to share my story. And I said, all right, we're going to DC then. But I've expressed my lack of military experience. So I was like, can I hang in this room? In our tribe, a couple vets were like, just call everybody sir and you'll be fine. Or ma'am. But as I sat in that room and I spoke to Ginger and I spoke to these women, and I joked with these higher ups, these people of the D.A.V, just being me, people just wanted to share their story. They just wanted to feel seen. They just wanted to feel heard. And that's in any arena, in any room, in any time and places. People just want to feel seen and heard. And so, yes, we do that for each other, again, on the micro. And then switching it to this big, giant room, we go from our yurt on the farm, and now we're in the Capitol building, all right, we're here. Let's do it.
Yes. And all those people in the yurt are rooting for us.
Yeah.
And they were tuning in, and they were watching, and they got to see kind of the process of what we did. And they also got to see us, on our little scooter things, which Kevin took us off of, but that's for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. We'll share that for Kevin's podcast. Kevin has his own show coming.
But we are loved. We are
Yes.
loved, and we are supported by the people that we help on the regular. And so it's beautiful, and it's high vibing, and it's we are being the change that we want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
We ain't talking about it. We doing it.
No, we show up. We show up. We roar. As I mentioned, I set out on a healing journey. This show's not about me. I give a little backstory. I lost my dad. 12 years later, I lost my stepdad. 12 years to the day, and it cracked me wide open, and it started a healing journey that I wasn't anticipating, looking for, didn't know was coming, but has been the most powerful and life-changing 2 years of my life. And through that, I found Jen, and I found sound healing, which is in and of itself such a powerful healing modality. But then you add in this tribe, and we get to go and show up for each other. And I have this big public life, and I don't invite everybody to that space. I was like, when you said the location, I was like, shh, No, we're gonna have to be moving locations. You can keep up with Jen. Don't find me. But I go there to be my fullest self. I go there and we river roar and we let all our angry shit out and we get it all out. And it's men and it's women and it's old and it's young and it's everybody with these different experiences. But we all come to heal and we all come to just take a break from the world. And I say it in jest, but we actually do roar in the river, and we
do. Like we physically yell.
We physically gut roar, like yeah.
We
it's intense.
It is. But I think the cool thing is that we focus on specific trauma each week. Yeah. So we're not out there like, yes, we hang out and we love each other and we're, by the fires and everything. But at the end of the day, the group intention is to heal on a cellular level. That is what we are doing. We are using sound frequencies to heal on a cellular level. We are going inside. We are getting the junk from the muscles, from the bone, from the stored memories of generations past in this lifetime, and we are focusing on them. We are purposefully trying to heal ourselves.
Yeah. And it shows.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
And we're in D.C. because we did it.
Yes.
I was driving down here like I'm literally going to the Capitol building because I decided to heal and show up for myself and met a best friend along the way. And just, this life is just, that is why this podcast came to be. Because I show up in this life and I go into these different rooms and I meet these different people as this light, as you explain me as, is... And these friendships that I make, you are rewarded in many ways when you do that, when you show up for yourself, not just once, not just twice, but we've been doing this week after week after week, day after day after day. And here we are. Talk to me about sound healing and talk more about what it is.
It saved me from myself. When I was at my lowest point in my life and I was suicidal, I thought that the world and my kids and everybody else would be better off without me. I was looking for ways to be my own advocate, and I really needed to save myself during that time, and sound healing did that to and for me. I use metal and crystal singing bowls to reach specific frequencies that heal on a cellular level. They do get tied into the different chakras and whatnot. I don't want to get into all of that, but frequency is the new medicine, and I am using my bowls as medicine for people to help with anxiety, to help with depression, to help with kidney stones, because we pass the kidney stones out there on the farm, and all kinds of other things. But at the end of the day, we are utilizing the bowls to heal trauma on a cellular level, to go inside, to look at our childhood trauma, to look at our PTSD, to look at our MST, or to look at our mother wound or our father wound. And we're going inside, and we do it on a community level. It's not just one person or any one person. I am a modality to allow and help people to open up. When we're in that yurt or when we're on the farm doing the sound bath, we are there as a collective. Yeah. It is the intention of all. So we are using the power of not only the bowls, but love, community, and true tribal support to help each other heal on a cellular level. There is no ego. There is no judgment. We have created something that doesn't exist.
It's special.
It really, really is.
And no ulterior motives, just no. So, which leads me to, and we can wrap it up with this. Yeah. Talk Jane Doe to me.
Jane Doe. I used to write poetry when I was younger, and they were love letters to myself, of my pain and torment, and I would always sign them Jane Doe. I didn't know where it was going to fit in my life, but I knew that I would fit it somewhere. So when I decided to create my own LLC and start my own business, hoorah, I just knew the Jane Doe project starts and ends with love and kindness, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what my name is. It doesn't matter what my face looks like. I can show up with love and kindness, and that is enough.
Yeah. And it does so much. It is a powerful tool.
It is. And I'm learning to accept and realize just what I do bring to the table. And it's people like you and our other tribesmen that help me see that, because I'm a lot of things to a lot of people, but I don't always see what everybody else sees, and I'm learning to see that. And coming here and having this opportunity, and all the people that have provided love and support to kind of get me here and leave me here, I'm overwhelmed, and I am just, my heart and my soul is full. And I thank you guys so much, because I know that, you reach a lot of people on your platform. You have a lot of amazing souls. I listen to you, on your your radio show and your podcasts, and I see what you do for other people, and you inspire me, and you help to encourage me to use my voice regardless of what other people think and regardless of what it looks like for other people. So I'm glad that we can be that healthy feminine and we can give each other that, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, fixing crowns, not knocking them off people's heads.
Absolutely.
And we really are leading by example.
We
so
sure
I love
do.
and appreciate you.
I love and appreciate you. I gotta ask you the most important question.
Yes.
When do you feel like the coolest person in the world?
When I'm with you.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's the best answer ever.
When I'm with you, I'm able to
I love you.
see myself for who I am. And it is one of the hardest things that I struggle with. So when I'm with you, I feel like the coolest person in the world, because you see me in a way that not everybody else does.
That's really special to me because you do that so much for me. Part of my book is sitting on the table, Nourish, that I wrote in 2017, and I recently re-released it. And part of my willingness to re-release it has been you and our friendship and what you show me, not just about me, but about you and about our tribe and the people and the way you communicate and the way you talk. You have taught me to love that every version of myself deserves love, not just the good parts, not just the part that doesn't ramble or the part that doesn't, feel the way she felt 5 years ago, and like what it looks like to evolve and be. And your story inspires me in so many ways and teaches me and encourages me to use my own voice too and show up for myself in this season, but also let that season and that season and that season of life still be relevant and still be important. Whatever pain and trauma and chaos may have come with it, there is good there, as with your stories. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you.
You've been listening to the Coolest People in the World podcast. Be sure to listen for a new episode every Thursday with people like Jen and Kevin and Avi and Kyle and Lily and all the people that have been on the show so far that are making magic in their respective worlds and have impacted my world in such a way that I felt I wanted to start a show about it and tell you their stories. So here we are. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend, and be on the lookout next Thursday for the next episode. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Coolest People in the World podcast with Crystal J. Bailey on the new Pod City Podcast Network. Visit us online today at thecoolestpeoplepodcast.com.